Hello and welcome to this C3DNA demo. In this demonstration, we'll be demonstrating how the C3DNA platform can be used to migrate a database without transaction loss in accordance to a policy setting. To demonstrate this capability, we'll be using a three-tier application with Apache, Tomcat, and MySQL. The Tomcat portion of the application will be used to write transactions to the MySQL database. You can actually select the number of transactions that you would like written to the database via a slider in the Tomcat application. The Apache application will just simply display the IP address of the Tomcat client and also the IP address of the MySQL database as it's writing the transactions. When we deploy this application, we'll deploy Apache and Tomcat in their respective servers on one of the clusters. Likewise, MySQL will also be deployed on a server in one of the clusters, in an internal cluster on the Cisco cloud. And we will apply or trigger a policy which will then migrate the MySQL database to an AWS instance in the AWS managed cluster. And what we would like to demonstrate is that the C3DNA platform can ensure that the application continues to write to the database even as the database is migrated and no transactions are lost in the process. So with that, let's go on to the demo. Okay, so here we are in the C3DNA management console. If you saw demo 1, then you are somewhat familiar with this console. Again, the C3DNA platform console is simply a GUI representation of the extensive capabilities that platform provides for application management through APIs that are JSON, YAML driven, and also there's an extensive command line interface that developers and admins can use. So this is just a graphical representation of some of the capabilities within the platform. And if you saw the platform, or if you saw the last demo again, you would have seen that we are using a sample platform cluster that comprises of two clusters in the Cisco Intercloud. And here are resources that, specific resource characteristics of those Cisco resources. And then there's two servers within the Amazon cloud, again, which you can find details on by clicking on the server itself. So for this demonstration, which is going to demonstrate how we're able to do active database migrations without transaction loss, we will deploy an application into these clusters. The way we're going to do that, last time we used the service catalog, where we populated the service catalog with services that we then launched. For this demonstration, we're going to show you how we can replicate existing running applications that may be running in elsewhere that is not in the C3DNA management, not under C3DNA management. So I'm going to go ahead and start discovery, which basically contacts or talks to a number of C3DNA agents which have been installed on your clusters to find what applications are running already. So here it went and discovered a bunch of applications running on this server. And what we're going to do is we're interested in a particular application which is known as Transaction TAM. That's the three-tier application that I introduced to you in the introduction section. So we're going to take the Tomcat, the Apache, and the MySQL component of this, give them names and logical names, and then essentially replicate them into the C3DNA platform. This is just going to take a second as I type in all this stuff. I'll be back in a second. Okay, there, I typed in all the logical names. I'm going to request that these be replicated onto, we're going to pick a specific platform to go to, or a host to go to. Let's call this the and let's just replicate this. So in the platform, you can also ask it to go to the best possible resource as well. Here we just selected a specific resource to go to. So here we have a successful operation complete. So let's go to the Cloud Console, and what we should see is the application deployed on PL001. So what you can see is that we have the C3DNA demo workflow with all the 3 tiers on the same server. Now let's go ahead and launch the application components of our 3-tier application. Let's first go ahead and call up the Tomcat piece. So as you can see, this is the Tomcat piece, which if I drag the slider will allow me to write a number of transactions per minute. And let's call up the Apache piece, which is the just the renderer of the transactions being written. Here we have no transactions written yet. So let's go ahead and start by dragging the slider and say we're going to write about 20 transactions per minute. What this starts doing on the Apache side is you can see the Tomcat application IP address and the database to which it's writing, and then the timestamp. So let's go back to the console. What we're going to do now is apply a policy. So we go to the policy catalog. I already have a policy here that says that if the number of total rows to the application database is greater than 20, then perform a migration. So we have a fairly comprehensive policy engine that can be allowed to define new policies. You can specify them as part of the blueprint, or you can define them through the GUI here. So now let's go and apply this policy. So to do this, we'll go to Manage Execution, and we're going to go and apply this to our MySQL service here. When I click on the little policy sliders, it shows me actions that I can take. Here it has recognized that migrate transaction DB, the policy that we had in the policy catalog, is applicable. I'll go ahead and tell it to migrate this to PL006, which is in the Amazon cluster when the number of rows hits greater than 20. So let's go and apply that. So that policy has been applied. Now let's go back to the console and see what happens. Basically, when the policy threshold is hit, we will see the migration. So you can see that happen in real time. Basically, the MySQL database was migrated because the threshold was hit. So I should be able to go to my database, and you can see that the transactions basically at 33 is greater than 20, so the policy triggered and the database writes switched. You can see that the transaction sequence was continuous. That means that no transactions were lost, even as we migrated the database from the Cisco Intercloud cluster over to the Amazon AWS cluster. Now that's pretty amazing. So I think that's the conclusion of this demo. Basically what we've been able to show you is the C3DNA platform is able to manage application lifecycle and database migrations across a hybrid cloud. And in this instance, what we showed you was that we specifically migrated a MySQL database from the Cisco Intercloud resource over to the Amazon cluster, and while we continued to make sure that the transactions were consistent and no transactions were lost. That's it for this demo. Please take a look at the c3dna.com webpage for more details. Thank you.